We might wonder why it's so difficult to escape our psychological suffering. After all, if it's psychological by nature, that means that in a very real sense, the mind is inflicting the suffering upon itself. So why doesn't it just stop doing that? Why is it so hard for the mind to follow its own wisdom, to not fall into this contraction of psychological suffering? Well, a very simple reason for that is that our psychological suffering is not just a mental, thought-based construct. The psychological suffering very fundamentally has a root in our body. Even though we know intellectually that we maybe shouldn't suffer over this thing we are suffering over, and that we know what we need to do to resolve the situation, the pain we feel in our body will just override all of this conceptual analysis. We can't follow our own wisdom because the body is seemingly screaming out in pain, and as a result, the mind tries to fix it. And of course, it can try to fix it in various different ways. It can try to dissociate away from this experience of the body, or go very much toward it and try to resolve it in this way. But either way, we're trying to fight fire with fire, because the mind tries to resolve the issue on its own level. But that can be extremely hard to do for the mind. And why is that so? The mind can only see solutions on its own level, and letting go to the mind seems like a kind of annihilation. By contracting around this experience and trying to be a kind of problem solver, the mind has a sort of identity to it. It really has this internal logic that it can solve this issue, but fundamentally it can never truly find the solution, because the solution to this suffering, to this pain, never lies in getting more involved with it and trying to fix it or manipulate it. Wise involvement can be appropriate, but it's always a matter of where it's coming from. So what's needed to get out of this contraction is always the recognition of something more fundamental, something that goes beyond this contraction. And that recognition is not far away or hard to reach. All that's needed is to simply relax this contraction, open up, and recognize that inherently there is something present right now which is not located, not trapped within the suffering. You can simply notice that there is an awareness here right now which is aware of this experience you're having. What is that? Can you locate it? Does it have a boundary? Does it have a center to it? Is it located in anything? If you simply notice the character of your experience in this way, it becomes obvious that this open, unbounded awareness, which is already taking in your experience, was never truly contracted, never truly identified or limited. And with this glimpse of this openness, immediately it becomes obvious that there is a different way of being. We could say that now it truly is possible to see beyond this pain of the body and this identification with thought, because we see that in our very own experience there is something more fundamental, something more real. And we notice that, we come to appreciate it, and we come to realize that this is what we fundamentally are. And because this is the case, it now all of a sudden becomes not only possible, but quite easy to let go of this contraction. When we are identified with this contraction, and it seems like that's what we really are, it seems like it's impossible to let go, impossible to surrender, open up and relax. But when we see that what we fundamentally are is always whole and complete, the relaxation and letting go just comes naturally, because now we know what we are letting go into. We know what our true home is, where the true safety lies. It doesn't lie in solving this painful contraction in the body. The true freedom always lies in that which we really are, which is already free, already present, always integrated, never dissociated. To simply recognize that in your experience and enjoy it.